What is reparations? In English, reparations has several linguistic roots. One of them is from the verb to repair. In Spanish, I think reparar, I assume that's the equivalent. So English, repair. Another connection is repayment. So you have repair as one root. Repay, R-E-P-A-Y-E, repay. In other words, there was something that was taken away from us. And often in many of our reports, we say, in fact, I was chairman of the task force on reparations for the Barbados government. And in that report, we made a statement. They stole us. They robbed us. They owe us. Because that is the fact. They need to repay us for what we suffered, our ancestors suffered. And their descendants continue to suffer. Then, in addition to that, repay, there is another term which is not necessarily a linguistic root, but there's a whole question of reconstitution. Reconstitution, there is a rebuilding. So reparation has to do with repayment, repair, reconstitution. All these are aspects of reparations. One aspect that we have stressed in our Barbados reparations report is that there should be self-repair. So that not only are we saying that the former enslavers owe us money, but we are also saying that we ourselves, as Bob Marley says, we have to emancipate ourselves. We have to come back to an understanding of where we came from. Incidentally, my son was married to a Yoruba from Nigeria, and the Yoruba tribe renamed me. I am Pedro, of course, Pedro, that's my name, but they call me Adewale. Adewale means the prince has returned to his home. The prince has come back home. Then they call my wife Adebola. And what Adebola means is the richness, the wealth of the prince. So notice what they call me. Adewale, the prince, that's me, has returned to his home, Africa. And secondly, my wife becomes the wealth, la riqueza del rey, the richness of the king, of the prince, me. I was so moved, it almost brought me to tears to recover that. I believe that we all ought to recognize that we have a legacy that is ours. You see this thing we call the skin? Whenever I speak to young people at school, I do this. And I tell them, too sweet, too sweet, too sweet. What that means is that here we are. This skin has something special. And I ask our young people to remember, as part of the repair that we can do for ourselves, that our people are a proud people. When it comes to the fastest people in the world, who are there? The Black people. Where did blood transfusion come from? The first blood transfusion, a Black man. Who defeated the Romans? Hannibal, an African. Who was one of Russia's greatest novelists? One of Russia's greatest novelists was another Hannibal. In Russia himself. In fact, there's another person whose name slips my mind, but in Russia, the father of the Russian literature was a Black man. Many persons do not know that in France, there is a man called Alexandre Dumas. Alexandre Dumas, he and his son, they are contributors to the golden age of French literature, Black people. Chevalier de St. George's, Napoleon's general, a Black man. They don't recognize that vaccination, in this COVID-19 period, there is an argument that the white man has invented vaccination. That's not true. Vaccination came from our Black people. In North America, there was an enslaver called Cotton Mather. And Cotton Mather had an enslaved man who he called Onesimus, which is a biblical name. And there was a smallpox epidemic in Massachusetts. And this enslaved man told his enslaver, you know, when we were in Africa, we will scratch the sores off a person who has smallpox and scratch it into the arm of another person. And his enslaver decided to try it. And because he tried it, they saved the lives of hundreds of people in Massachusetts. And then this enslaver told a doctor about this. So the question of inoculation is African. It came from our people. Yes, it did. And that's not all. That's not all. That's not all. The greatest long distance runners in the world, who are there? African, Black. Who invented traffic lights? A Black man. Who invented peanut butter? George Washington Carver, a Black man. Oh, I could go on for the whole night. But this is part of the recovery. We have to insist that the society as a whole recognizes the contribution of Black people. We must not permit people to say that we Black people are worth nothing. That's not all. There is a myth that has gone around which says that the church enslaved us mentally. To some extent, that is only partially true. The fact is that our ancestors accepted Christianity in spite of what the enslavers did. The enslavers did not want our ancestors to be Christian because they understood that the minute our ancestors learned to read and write and to study the Bible, they were going to pose a challenge. And that was so true in Jamaica. Jamaica, 1831 to 1832, there's a rebellion called the Christmas Rebellion or the Baptist War. Why is it called the Baptist War? Because the enslaved people who led a rebellion against slavery were Baptist slaves, they were Christians. So this notion that Christianity makes people so brainwashed they can't fight, that's a myth. We gotta rid ourselves of those myths. We have to rid ourselves of those myths. Continuing, we have as well to recognize that our people are capable of any achievement that they wish. So that we have to point to the successes of our Black people in government, our Black teachers, lawyers, artisans, mechanics. We have got to point to that as part of the recovery. But that's on our side. But what do the former enslavers have to do? Britain, Spain, France, Sweden, Holland, Denmark, and the United States of America on the other side, they owe us payment. That's what reparations also has to do with. A monetary payment. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles has a book called Britain's Black Debt. And they estimate that the 20 million pounds that they paid the planters, the enslavers, in today's money would be over 200 billion US dollars, 200 billion. And the argument is that our people, our Black people, should benefit from that. How can we benefit? Well, the reparations committee of CARICOM, the English-speaking Caribbean, they recommend a 10-point plan, and that 10-point plan, the argument is that the European countries should pay us for the health problems that our people continue to suffer from as a result of enslavement. They should pay us for the infrastructural deprivation that our people have suffered as a result of the social inequities and economic inequities which we suffer from as a result of enslavement. They've argued that they should also pay some money towards the indigenous people, because the indigenous people also suffered from colonialism and enslavement. It is argued that the European countries should invest in our education institutions. So it's not a matter of just giving money to an individual black man or black woman here or there. It's a matter of providing the resources that can collectively lift our people from their poverty forward. The CARICOM governments have written to the rest European governments indicating their desire to enter into a discussion with them concerning reparations. We are aware that in North America, there's a reparations bill that's being put to the US Senate and the US Congress, because in America, they're arguing as well that Black people deserve to be paid for the years of suffering. So here we are, a proud people. I'm looking at my screen at a proud queen, La Reina Carmen. We are looking at people like us who have demonstrated that we have the capacity to succeed. We only ask that our people, and even those who are not like us, that they come to understand the reality of our cause. They have to understand, and the only way they can understand that is to get a sense of the history that has preceded our time. We have to look at it. We have to know how the law institutionalized racism. We have to fight against it. Too many of our women, I'm afraid, are now bleaching their skins because they are concerned that if blackness, something wrong with blackness. Just let me share this one with you, because I don't want to keep you too long here. But in the Bible, there's a story of Ham. There's a story of Ham. As we know, Noah had 3 sons. And the Bible story says that Ham saw his father naked. His father got drunk, and that he went and made fun of his father. But his 2 brothers, that is Shem and Japheth, turned their back so they would not see their father's nakedness and covered their father. When he arose out of his sleep, Noah pronounced a curse, pronounced a judgment. But he did not pronounce a judgment on Ham. There's a myth that has gone across the world which says that we Black people are suffering from the curse of Ham. That's a myth. Noah never pronounced a judgment on Ham. In the Bible, the judgment is on Canaan, Ham's son. And the theologians who have read have made the point that what Noah was doing, Noah was projecting a prophetic viewpoint, simply indicating that Canaan would, in fact, in his future life and his descendants, that they would face some problems. But at no time did Noah pronounce a curse on Ham. Now, the reason why I'm stressing that, because there are a couple of scriptures where we find out who Ham is. He is not Noah's son, yes. But I think in Psalm 105 and Psalm 106, there is what we call a Hebrew parallelism, in which the Hebrew scripture says, the land of Ham and Egypt are the same place. The land of Ham and Egypt are the same place. I was just looking to see if I can see my Bible. I normally have it around and it's close by. Here, I here for you. I am looking for, yes. I'm looking at Psalm 106, 106. And I'm looking at verse 21. Verse 21 says, and it's talking about the Israelites, the children of Israel. They forgot God, their Savior, which had done great things in Egypt. That's verse 21. Verse 22 says, wondrous works in the land of Ham. What is happening there? One text says the land of Egypt, but the Hebrews practice something called parallelism. So they repeat the point again and expand it. So in the next verse, it calls Egypt the land of Ham. That's Psalm 106. In Psalm 105, I'm reading verse 23. It says, Israel also came into Egypt. We know that Israelites went into Egypt. But that's not all. In that same verse, it goes on to say, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. Oh, that's strange. Those people who study the scriptures know that Israel and Jacob are the same person. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So here it says, Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned, that means he stayed, in the land of Ham. There are several other scriptures, but they show that Ham and land of Ham is the land of Egypt. Now, those who've done the necessary linguistic connections show that one of the names for Egypt was Kemet. And that name for Egypt meant the land of the black-skinned people. From that context, therefore, we know that Ham is the ancestor, biblically, of the black people. So when people argue that Ham was cursed, when people say Ham was cursed, what they want to say is that black people were cursed. But again, I repeat, Ham was never cursed. That is not biblical. It is a corruption of the biblical narrative. And we have to let people understand that those myths have been designed to keep our people denigrated. We are not under a curse. I tell my Christian friends, we are blessed. Again, I say, too sweet. This is special. Lastly, they must know that we have melanin in our skins. That's what makes us black. And they must know that melanin protects us more from skin cancer than the others. And when they see us or black women walking the streets, like Nicolas Guillen, they must see La Trasera. And when they see La Trasera, they must understand that that is an expression of our Africanity and our pride. So, my friends, I wish to end, I know I've been going for a long time, but I wish to end by saying reparations is a just cause. We are not asking for the impossible. We are simply saying to the whole world, our people deserve to be paid, not only in dollars and cents, but they need to be paid with respect. Our people must not be seen as inferior. We are equal to everyone else. And I'm hoping that as a result of our entry into the history and into the biblical history, that we will come to see our people as a proud people. Lastly, very lastly, Janet DeGruy, that is D-E-G-R-U-Y, has coined a term called post-slavery traumatic syndrome. Post-slavery traumatic syndrome, in which she makes it the point that that legacy of inferiority that has been pushed on our people has destroyed many of our people. and let a lack of self-esteem. It is time for us to dismiss what has happened in the past and to reclaim our sense of who we are. I am Pedro Adewale Welch. Blessings to you. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Thank you for giving of your time and your knowledge, and your explanation shows your the long story that you have.
But just before I go, though, given that you are located in Costa Rica, I'm very conscious that a lot of times we don't understand about the commonality of our experience. I said I've been to Hispanic countries, and when I landed, for example, in Colombia, in Cartagena, when I landed there, I was shocked because it was almost as though I stepped from Barbados into Barbados. The tropical environment, the breadfruit trees, the other thing that I saw around me, the very smells and the things that were around me, they were familiar to me. And not only that, when I looked around and saw the people like me, people with black skins, it occurred to me, so often we are not aware of our past. I've studied enough Latin American history to know that we also have a denial of our presence in Argentina, for example, because there's a notion that Argentina is a white country, but people don't know that Argentina became white only because it sought to exterminate Black people. And what it did was it brought German and Italian migrants into Argentina. So this notion that Argentina is white and there's no blackness there, there's a black, that's a myth. And there are a lot of countries in Latin America where our Black people are seen as second-class citizens. It is time for that to be abandoned and our people to let people know that we have worth. We have value. Tenemos un valor. We have value. Thank you. Just wanted to make that point.
Thank you again. Thank you again. And that you just give me a little more energy, because that is what we need. Because as you said, I mean, it is not easy for us. The racism is manifested in different way, but it is there, in all of our Latin American countries, all
Hispanic
of them, all of them, exactly,
all
of them. So, thank you again. Thank you again for all that knowledge. And definitely, I expect more collaboration in terms of, especially the research that you're, involved in right now in terms of the medical aspect of the history and our people.
Somos voces de la historia, sangre, tinta y papel. Somos voces de la historia, mis ancestros, su saber, mis ancestros, su saber, mis ancestros, su saber.